Ladies and gentlemen, hey, hi, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. One of the most common questions I get in the comments or over on Twitter or even on stream is, Zach, what things do I need to do to improve even more? You know, are there certain settings that can help? Are there certain strats to utilize that maybe most players don't know about? And honestly, the simple answer is yes. There are definitely a handful of specific things you can do to improve at the game even more. So today we're breaking down some of the key settings and also some tips that pretty much every pro or top tier player is using in their gameplay to drop more kills, win more games, and all around just dominate the Warzone. So if you enjoy the video at any point, or if you just find it helpful, let me know by dropping a like on it. And of course, if you're new here, I am always covering the latest Call of Duty news, intel, tips, tricks, updates, you name it, you'll find it right here on the channel. So feel free to subscribe with your notifications turned on to stay on top of all of that. Now, getting into everything, as I said, we've got some tips that you can utilize in-game that should help you improve more and more over time. And we also have a few specific settings that I think are major game changers when it comes down to it. Now, I do have a separate video already on the channel that goes over some of the more basic settings if you are also interested in those. But for today specifically, we are breaking down the ones that I think have the biggest impact in-game. So, that said, let's start with one major thing that you can do to improve your movement in-game, which ultimately makes rotations easier and makes playing aggressive a bit easier too. And of course, what I'm talking about here is none other than slide canceling. And this is something that is done both through a setting and also as an in-game technique. So, in order to make slide canceling the easiest, the first thing you want to do is change your sliding behavior, whether you're on mouse and keyboard or controller, to the tap action. That way all you need to do is simply press your slide button instead of holding it. Then slide canceling itself is actually pretty easy. You can use your tactical sprint, click your slide button, and then while you are still in that sliding animation, click your slide button again to cancel it. And you can spam this action over and over and over and over again. It has no cooldown whatsoever, and you'll be able to maneuver around the map incredibly quickly. Also, this is the most effective, you could say, when you have a weapon out that already has really good mobility, like say the MP5 for instance, since you'll be moving even quicker with that equipped. So keep that in mind as well. Now, another tip that can be a huge help in game is actually blocking the gas mask animation. We all know just how annoying it is to be in a gunfight, especially later on into the match or honestly even in the final zone, and while you are trying to shoot at an enemy, your gas mask decides that it wants some extra attention too, and it completely ruins your engagements. Sometimes, you know, it'll even get you killed. I know it's happened to me more than I'd honestly like to admit. But there's actually a few ways to cancel the animation that you definitely need to know. Now, this is not all of the ways that this is possible, I'm sure, but I do know for a fact that holding your heartbeat sensor while you enter the gas is going to avoid the gas mask animation completely, and instead it'll just automatically be equipped. And if you were to hold the C4, it would also have the same result. The mask simply appears on your character, and you don't need to physically put it on, which can save you some pretty valuable time. Then, another question I get all the time is, Zach, how do you throw your C4 so far? And this is actually something pretty simple, but obviously it can be incredibly useful. And really, all you need to do here is jump and also look up a bit while throwing the C4, and you'll be able to extend the distance it reaches by a pretty decent amount, honestly. Of course, when you then integrate the double tapping your interact button to auto detonate the C4 as well, this allows you to play way more aggressive with it. Which, yeah, this can be a nightmare for anyone who's on the receiving end of it. So, you know, practice it a bit, nail that timing with the jump and the upwards angle, and you'll be throwing C4s like you're Peyton Manning in no time. Next up, this is another setting and tip combined into one point, and this is all about being able to land sooner than your enemies, and ideally get to the loot before them as well. So here, again on PC and on console as well, what you want to do first is actually disable the parachute auto deploy option in your settings. This is going to make it so that the only time your parachute ever deploys is when you manually do it. So, you know, just a heads up, if you were to look away for a moment while you're falling or you misclick, gravity is going to improve its KD. But, on the plus side, your parachute is not going to automatically deploy when you reach the elevation threshold for it. Meaning anyone who has the auto deploy feature on is going to be stuck with their parachute out, and you're going to be able to pull your chute way closer to the ground. So especially for hot drops like Superstore, hangars, hospital, and whatnot, being able to get so much closer to the loot before pulling your parachute is going to be a huge help in starting strong off the bat. Now, I also want to bring up the Gulag really quick, because there is one thing that I've been doing more and more here, something I also see a lot of other players doing as well, that I think has seriously helped increase my win rate, and that is playing the angle that favors you the most. So, what I mean by that is that if you are in the Gulag where you can see down the lanes on each side, you know the left and the right side are completely open, you typically will spawn closer to one of those sides, meaning you can get to that angle way before the other player does. And if they end up heading in that direction, you now have a very easy win in the books. And if they don't go in that direction, you now have a lot more information on where they might be. It is a simple tip for sure, but I've been doing this more and more lately, and it has definitely helped me out tremendously. Now, moving on, the new armor box feature can also be used in a more efficient way, I guess you could say, if you are really trying to get the most out of it, by either dropping your reserve plates to ensure everyone on your team has their full 3 plates equipped before picking up any armor from the box, or by just dropping your plates to get more out of it. So, say I have a satchel and I have 3 plates on and then I also have 2 reserve. If I were to just grab the armor box then, I would only get 6 plates out of it because that would then cap me out at 8 reserve plates. However, if I were to drop those 2 reserve plates before interacting with the box, I would then get 8 plates from it, plus there would also be 2 more plates on the ground that were extra after that. So by minimizing the plates you're holding when interacting with an armor box, you can actually get a lot of extra armor out of that situation. Now, there is also some information that not everyone knows that can be really useful in-game regarding the free loadout drops that of course come into play at the end of Zone 1 and also Zone 5. Now, as we know, these drops fall for everyone still alive in a relatively close proximity to the players. Usually it is right around 200 meters or less from your location. So, by knowing that, if there is ever any other loadout drops by yours, you can assume that another player or another team is also within roughly 200 meters of that location, aka prepare for battle. Then, another new feature that we got pretty recently is that of the dead zone setting, which is meant to eliminate the various stick drift you can run into on controller. And I guess this is not so much of a tip as it is just a PSA, but this is specific to your own controller. You know, it is not a setting that is going to be the same for everyone because each individual controller has its own individual stick drift properties. So some controllers have a lot of stick drift, some don't have any if you're lucky. So this is something you do need to test on your own in-game to see where exactly your controller lies. Now, from what I've heard, the easiest way to test your stick drift is to look at an edge of an object or a wall and see if your screen moves at all when you are done touching the stick, and then just simply adjust it accordingly until it no longer does. Then, another quick tip to help you gain some momentum in-game after coming back from the Gulag is to actually hunt down these Scavenger Contracts if there are any available, as this is going to be the fastest way to 1. Guarantee yourself some pretty easy loot, and 2. Get some easy money to hopefully either buy back your other teammates or restock on UAVs, armor, self-revives, and all that good stuff. Now, tip number 10 today is all about team shots. You know, collectively using your numbers to focus on one specific enemy and just absolutely shred through them. One-on-one gunfights are fine and they're probably going to happen frequently enough as is, right? But being able to use any numbers you potentially have to take down one target at a time is going to make engagements so much easier in the long run. So, when you are approaching an engagement, if you are able to set aside a plan to focus on one enemy and attack together, they are going to go down faster than ever. Then, finally, tip number 11 today is actually just for PC players, and it is to turn on the Apply All Armor setting in the behavior settings under kill streaks and vehicles. This is going to make it so that you only have to press the armor button once, and it will apply all the remaining plates you have and or need to be full. So it's pretty much just a quick shortcut to make life a bit easier. Anyways, with all of that being said, those are a handful of key settings and tips to help you improve here in Warzone, and that is going to wrap things up for today. If you guys enjoyed the video, or if you just found it helpful, let me know by dropping a like on it. And of course, if you're new here and you want to stay up to date with the latest Call of Duty news, intel, updates, leaks, and everything else in between, feel free to subscribe with your notifications turned on. That way you'll always know whenever I upload a new video. As always, if you want to check out any of my partners, be sure to use code IMMORTAL on all Scuff, G Fuel, Control Freak, and Respawn products. All of those links can be found in the description below, and once again, thanks so much for tuning in. Until next time, take it easy, have an awesome rest of your day, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace out.